everybody, this is Charles again with another video. So it's that time again, Q&A, and this is my third entry. So I wrote down all the questions and I want to thank everybody for participating, and I want to apologize if this took long. And before I begin, I know in the prompt video I did say that I will only take questions through the comments on that video. However, I made some exceptions because there are people I know who aren't always on YouTube 24/7. Some even quit YouTube, but they still wanted to ask me questions. So yeah, and I can never say no to you guys anyway. So I have to be flexible. So without further ado, let's begin. First one is Christopher Ryan, a really good friend of mine, a loyal subscriber. I know him best known as Bird of Bloodhaven. How are you doing, Christopher? His question is, what are your favorite Spider-Man and Green Lantern books? And I'm glad he asked me that question because he knows that Spider-Man and Green Lantern are my favorite superheroes from their respective universes slash franchises slash companies, Marvel and DC, and those are my two favorites. And there's a lot of books I really like, so I'm not going to cover every single one, just a couple just to give you an idea. For Spider-Man, if it's more modern or recent storylines, I really like the Superior Spider-Man storyline. It's when Dr. Octopus, when he was dying, he switched bodies with Peter Parker as a last trick, and he became a superhero, anti-hero, Superior Spider-Man, and I really like it. It's fresh, it's new, and I just love how, whether he's a hero or villain, or if he's good or evil, Dr. Octopus or Otto Octavius, he's still an arrogant, pretentious jerk, especially when he was Superior Spider-Man. And if you read the storyline, you know what I'm talking about. And another of my favorite storyline from Spider-Man is the Edge of Spider-Verse storyline, because there are so many kinds of Spider-Men, Spider-Women, Spider-Girls, Spider-People. Like, that event created one of the most popular characters in not just Marvel, but in comics in general, Spider-Gwen, and even I like the character. And every time I go to places like Target, Walmart, Hot Topic, I see a lot of Spider-Gwen merchandise, and she's one of those characters who's starting to become very popular, like Batman, Harley Quinn, even Miles Morales. So I hope that answers the Spider-Man part of your question. But for the Green Lantern stuff, I really like a lot of the New 52 and DC Rebirth storylines, and I have them right here just to show you. I've been reading DC Rebirth Green Lanterns with Jessica Jones and Simon Baz, really great storyline, and Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, and this is the very first issue. And I really like Green Lantern Rebirth, not to be confused with DC Rebirth. I really like this story. It's a story of redemption. This happens after Hal Jordan was possessed by the Parallax, and in this story, Hal Jordan ultimately redeems himself, being worthy of a Green Lantern. And I really love the cover art with Hal himself, John Stewart, Kilowog, Carl Rayner, and Guy Gardner. And this was written by Geoff Johns, who is a fantastic writer in the comic book industry. I've always liked to see Geoff Johns as the Stan Lee of DC Comics. So thank you for that question, Christopher. Next up is Alex Lemons, another good friend of mine and a subscriber. Would you love it if Hasbro produced a Scavengers box set, fulcrum included. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't see why not, because Hasbro has released plenty of characters from the IDW G1 universe, and the IDW G1 comics are absolutely fantastic. I mean, they released Drift, who happens to be my favorite character in the IDW comics. They released Windblade. They even had a box set with the Rust Renegades, or also known as the Torchbearers, who formed Victorion, and that set is a box set with more than one figure. So I can see it happen, and there's plenty of really cool characters in the IDW G1 comics who deserve love. Like, I'm a big fan of the Decepticon Justice Division, and so far they only have third-party toys for those characters, not anything official from Hasbro. But we'll see. So thank you, Alex. Next question. Six Shot Changer Reviews. How are you doing, Chris? I hope you and Nat are doing fantastic. He has two questions for me. First one is, what is your most loved Star Wars capital ship? I love Star Wars. It's one of my favorite franchises. It's obviously in my big five, my top five, my main five. You get the idea if you follow my channel. And with a franchise as big as Star Wars, there's so many ships to pick, and there's a lot of variety. And my personal opinion, I would say the Venator class Star Destroyer. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the Republic cruiser that serves as the predecessor of the Star Destroyer from the original trilogy. And just like its successor, the Venator class Star Destroyer it's a very big ship, can carry a lot of members, has some serious firepower. And I just like the look of it, considering that it's a prequel era ship, and it was the predecessor of the Imperial Star Destroyer. So, thank you for the first question. Second question. Which TMNT weapon is the best? And just like Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of my favorite franchises, and it's in my top 5. I absolutely love it. And, well, Chris, you know how much I like to learn and study about weapons, and ask me what the best is. Well, every weapon has their strengths and weaknesses. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. And in my personal opinion, it's not always the weapon, but it's the user and the warrior. So, I don't know if I could say what's the best Ninja Turtle weapon, but I can say my personal favorite, which is the swords from Leonardo. Obviously, since Chris, you know how much I love swords. I just like weapons in general. But, like I said, every weapon has their strengths and weaknesses. Not just ninja weapons, but any weapon. Like Donatello's bow staff, it has great range and can deliver powerful strikes and hits. Michelangelo's nunchaku are very freestyle, which reflect him. Raphael's sai, they have great defense and power. So thank you, Six Shot Changer Reviews. And last question. This is from Jordan Adam Nelson Wignell. He's a really great friend of mine. I talk to him all the time on Facebook. How are you doing, Jordan? And thank you so much for these questions. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. And thank you for the questions. Favorite Marvel movie and why? The Marvel Cinematic Universe has so many movies, and there will always be new movies, so opinions change on what my favorite is. So I would say at the very moment, at least currently, I would say Doctor Strange. It's a really good movie. Special effects can be very trippy, but the storyline is fantastic, and it's fairly faithful to the comic book character. And it's possibly one of the more violent Marvel movies, since it has a lot of blood in it. Although there's other Marvel movies I still enjoy even before, and there's a good chance that my opinion will change with upcoming Marvel movies like Black Panther, Infinity War. I like the first Avengers movie since it had a really great structure and story and how the team builds up. I like Spider-Man Homecoming, clearly because Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, not just in Marvel, but in general. And Winter Soldier, really great movie. It felt like a political thriller, a lot of suspense. So, that's your first question. Thank you for that. Second question. Why did you get into martial arts? Why I got into martial arts? Well, I'm glad you asked that since Jordan, you know how much I love to study martial arts. I love the art. For me, it's more than just fighting. It's self-defense, it's exercise, it's meditation. And what got me interested in martial arts is, well, as a kid, I really liked watching Kung Fu movies. I'm a big Jackie Chan fan and Bruce Lee fan. And a lot of the things I like, including my fandoms, got me interested in studying martial arts, like Samurai Jack, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, obviously. Some of my favorite superheroes are martial artists. Like, a good example is Batman, obviously. Wolverine, Daredevil, Spawn, Iron Fist, and the list goes on. So, and Star Wars, some of the lightsaber combat was inspired by a lot of sword fighting and other aspects. Like the Jedi Order, the Jedi Knights were inspired by many things, and they were especially inspired by Shaolin monks and samurai. Third and last question, how do you rank the Star Wars movies? And again, big Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. It's in my big five. Well, like I said, opinions do change, so whenever there's a new movie, I'm not 100% certain. But here's how I rank them, and I can't list them at the top of my head, so I had to write it down along with the question, so I'm sorry about that. My favorite movie out of all the Star Wars movies, whether it's classic, prequel, or the more recent movies, has always been Return of the Jedi. I've always loved that movie for a lot of reasons, although I doubt that for some people it's Ewoks. I didn't mind the Ewoks. And second place would go to Rogue One, because that movie is the first spin-off Star Wars movie in the anthology series, which are standalone movies that help expand the Star Wars universe and go much deeper outside the main saga. And the storytelling and the characters are incredible. Third place, The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi, that is the most recent Star Wars movie, and I saw it last month, and the opinions among The Last Jedi is ultimately divided. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it, some were so-so about it. I liked it. I mean, it's not my most favorite Star Wars movie of all time, but, you know, it's pretty high on the list. Then there's Star Wars The Force Awakens, and I really like the sequel trilogy that takes place after both the prequels and the original trilogy. New characters, new ideas and concepts, a new villain like Kylo Ren, a new heroine like Rey, and there's Finn, then there's Poe. Then there's The Empire Strikes Back, which is, for a lot of Star Wars fans, a lot of people, especially the Star Wars fandom, considers that the best Star Wars movie, and I understand why. Because it has a really strong plot, a great plot twist, including Luke, I am your father. And Yoda training Luke is... I really like the relationship between Yoda and Luke as master and student. A New Hope, or just Star Wars, during the time in 1977 where the whole saga and the whole franchise just started, and we wouldn't have the Star Wars franchise if it weren't for A New Hope. Revenge of the Sith, the best prequel out of the prequels. I mean, it still suffered things that the other two prequels suffered, like corny dialogue, but otherwise it's a very decent film. I like the fight scenes, I like the characters, and I really liked Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader. Attack of the Clones. I really liked Attack of the Clones, although it's low on the list. I still like Attack of the Clones to some extent. Again, the corny dialogue, especially the infamous "I don't like sand, it's rough," chorus and gets everywhere. I mean, I love the prequels, but their problems kind of bug me, but I still enjoy watching them. And I really like the fight scenes between Yoda, Count Dooku, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the origin of Boba Fett, and the clone troopers that were the first generation stormtroopers. And another criticism with the prequels is the CGI. I don't mind CGI, unlike most fans. I mean, I understand where they're coming from, that they prefer practical effects, but I don't mind CGI when they actually need it and couldn't do it without practical effects. It's only the clone troopers that bugged me. I mean, when they don't wear their armor and helmets, that's understandable, showing, I don't know, clones of Tamira Morrison. But with the full uniform, with the helmets on and the armor, I don't know, I feel like they could have used actual actors, much like how they use real actors for Imperial stormtroopers and the First Order stormtroopers. And last, and well, definitely the least in terms of favorite Star Wars movies, Phantom Menace. I did not hate the movie. Some people blow things out of proportion with their opinions, especially nowadays, but Phantom Menace, it's the weakest Star Wars movie, but I did not hate it by any means. I had some problems, but I didn't hate it. There's lots of redeeming qualities, like obviously the fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon against Darth Maul, how the start of the saga came to be. I like the fight scenes that involves battle droids. And yeah, again, the weakest of the film, but I didn't hate it. So that's everybody's questions. Thank you so much to everybody who participated. And there will be more Q&A videos in the future, so if you've been meaning to ask me a question, you can in the future videos. And I really love these kinds of videos because this is the only time I ever get to interact with you guys, and you guys get to know me much more with each Q&A video. And my Q&A series is a recurring series outside of my toy reviews, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.